everyone. We're back on another podcast here with you, talking clean in a dirty world. You know what? We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming to you this year. And one of those is, as you probably have already seen, is our series of IICRC classes that we're holding here at Gym Supply. The Academy is the host for you here. Today I have with me a special guest, Rachel Adams. It's cold where you are right now. It wasn't where you were a few weeks ago.
That's right. Right now in Indianapolis, Indiana, it's -5 real temperature, and it's going to stay that way for probably the next week. But no, I've been doing some work down in Jamaica where it's anything but cold. It's hot, humid, and sunshiny. But yeah, doing hurricane work post Hurricane Melissa. So I've been down there since October.
Okay, so before we get into the meat of the matter with all of the stuff you're going to be doing, let's give the audience that probably have never heard of, IICRC. We've kind of had some stuff. Let's first get into what is IICRC and why is it so special and what is all of this about?
Well, IICRC stands for the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, Restoration Certification. And basically they are a certification body that is also involved with writing standards such as your S500, which is the water damage standard, the S520, which is the mold remediation standard. And they're working on a whole bunch of other standards that impact our industry. And so, they provide curriculums that instructors like myself get approved to teach, although they don't employ any of us. We basically teach the programs that they approve. So the certification is important for the contractors that do mitigation, that do fire restoration, mold remediation, because many times it's a requirement to be on a preferred vendor program. It also keeps you in the know of what is the most current science and the current standards that are being recognized by our industry partners. So they bring a lot of value to the contractors. A lot of the training that they can sign up for and receive is excellent training. Some of it has hands-on built into the training. So it's really recognized as the industry leader for the training that gets provided to contractors that perform those services.
Now, folks, you might notice on the video, if you're watching the video, that Rachel's kind of glitching in and out every once in a while. So just listen to her. The reason is because of that storm over there that you had. You're all about storms. It seems like you're just a stormy lady, man.
Well, I prefer to stay in the warm kind of storms and not the ice cold kind of storms, but don't always get that choice.
Okay. So if you're watching the video, you might be seeing scrolling across the bottom, there's two different classes that Rachel's going to be doing in June and September. So I want to throw up the first one and we can talk about a little bit about this. If all my stuff works for me today. All right, here's the first one. This is the water restoration technician. Everybody says WRT and I go, what the heck is that?
Yeah, so WRT, I kind of look at it as the gateway class because it's a required prerequisite in order to take advanced classes like the applied structural drying, commercial drying specialist, and the applied microbial remediation. So it's basically the first class that most contractors take that do water mitigation. And its entire intent is to provide training on how to use meters, how to collect the data, psychrometrics, how do buildings dry. So it gives you a really good foundation to set you up for the next more advanced courses that they follow.
Well, and folks, hey, this is what happens whenever you use technology. I hit the wrong button and it all went away. So while I get this back up, is there a prerequisite to taking this course?
For WRT, no. There's no required prerequisite for WRT. WRT does serve as a required prerequisite for other classes, but in and of itself, individuals that may just want to get into doing this kind of work that's brand new to the restoration industry, this is a good class that you would start with.
Okay, so who should attend this? I mean, that's the thing is, people are listening to this today. They're going, hey, why should I attend? What's this going to do for me?
Well, I mean, your basic technicians, if you've got frontline technicians coming into your business to learn this industry, this is where they need to start. A lot of people think you can just walk into a building and just like kind of eyeball it and think, oh, we'll throw in, 5 air movers and a DU, when really there's science behind how much equipment do you put into a project. And it's all based on the equipment that you're using. And so it's going to teach your people how to size jobs, how to collect the data from daily monitoring, and how to use that data to make drying decisions to ensure you can get the building and materials within it as dry as quickly as possible. So if you've got, any technician that's new to the industry that doesn't have to have any experience, this is where they would start. Sometimes even companies get their office staff trained because it allows them to be better at answering questions. Same thing for their sales force. It's really hard to go out and sell a service when you don't really understand the full gamut of what it's all about. So I would say those are, anyone can take it, but those are probably the individuals within this industry that's going to benefit the most.
Okay, I had a school district, called me up about this, and they said, we just want to get the basics so that we can say that we know what we're doing. And he goes, well, wait a minute, this is 2 days long and everything. He goes, why is this so much different than just, if I'm doing carpet cleaning and stuff? He goes, why should I go this far with it?
Well, and I get a lot of calls as well. And so school districts, as well as property management groups, where if they have a water event in their buildings or their schools, they don't want to have to always rely on outside contractors. So sometimes they will train their internal staff to be able to handle these, especially if it's a smaller water damage. They can have, the equipment on hand and they can take care of it internally. So there's two other new groups, or not new, but groups of individuals that I think would also benefit greatly.
So if they're going to say, well, we can do this, should they send all of their staff to be certified, or is it they can get 1 or 2 people and then their staff can follow the directions? What's your advice there?
My advice is that everyone should have it. It's going to be a certification in which you will take an exam at the completion of the course, but it's going to follow you as a professional. So it's not something that belongs to, the owner of the company or just the supervisor. I think that a lot of times you have information that gets lost in translation when you rely on internal people to do some of the training, especially on the more technical information. So I would suggest that everybody have it, but at least your lead techs or the people that are going to be overseeing your projects, overseeing your building maintenance.
Now, for you folks that are watching, like we said, today we're having some of our difficulties on both ends. I even messed up here today. So just to show you, when you get to the ticketing, here's your tickets. I had somebody call yesterday and go, what's early bird mean? Early bird means if you buy now, you get a discount. That's what it means. So, hey, we're not going to do your first one down here till June, and then you'll come back again in September. If you do it now and you go in there now, you get $50 off the ticket pricing, as you can see here. Now, you're not just doing let me get my acronyms right, the WRT, you're doing the AMRT.
Right. So the AMRT, the Applied Microbial Remediation Technician class. A lot of times this course gets referred to as the mold class, when really you're going to be learning about how to properly remediate mold as well as category 3 water damage. So if that's something you're not familiar with, category 3 water is categorized based on the level of contamination that's in it. So category 3 is about as bad as it can get. So that would include like a sewage backflow. It would include flood waters. And so the remediation is going to be a little bit different than when you're walking into, a category 1 water damage in a building from a supply line rupture. So we're going to be talking about contaminated spaces, how to properly set up containment, how to manage pressure differentials, critical barriers. And then this class, it's a 4-day class. The 3rd day that the students will be actually building containment. So everyone's going to be involved with constructing containments of different types. We're going to be working with manometers to actually be able to measure our pressure. And then we're going to learn how to work with the equipment, such as the air filtration devices. So it's really a hands-on class. And the goal is I want students to be able to leave and feel confident that the next remediation project that they get, that they're going to understand what they need to do.
Okay, so some of the questions I've had, and so that's why I want to get you on here so that you could, hey, maybe I'm not saying it right or saying, so I want to make sure we got the information right. That's our biggest thing today. Guy wanted to sign up like 3 or 4 of his techs for this. And he goes, wait a minute, I see on here there's a prerequisite on here. Can you walk us through this process?
So all they have to do is take the WRT first. That's the only required prerequisite. So once they've taken WRT and successfully passed the exam with a 75%, that's the passing score for all IICRC courses,
right.
Then they qualify to take this class.
Okay, so now he also asked me, he said, do I have to wait? You know, he said, I see you have the WRT like 2 or 3 weeks before the AMRT. He said, can I do that? And is that going to be all right?
Absolutely. So what's going to happen is once they take the WRT, they can take the AMRT, but IICRC won't grade your AMRT results until they grade your WRT. So if there's like a time lapse there where you haven't received the WRT scores back to know if you passed or not, and you want to take the AMRT, you can certainly do that.
Okay.
And then IICRC will grade the WRT first. And for some reason you didn't pass, then you'd basically retake that exam. And once you pass it, then they would grade the AMRT.
Okay, so they don't have to wait for the score to come back, because that does take a little bit of time to go through the wheels, right?
It does. And no, they do not have to wait.
Okay, now, as I understand with both of these courses, Rachel, there is an additional cost for the test over and above what we're charging. Now, if I understand this right, our price that we're giving out today is going to be for the course and the handbook, and of course, lunch every day.
Right, right. So the exam fees, all the IICRC exams are an extra cost. And that test fee that they're going to pay is, and they'll pay for that online. You can go to the IICRC.org portal, set your account, and you can pay for your exams online. And then that money goes towards IICRC. So that is completely separate from any course that you take anywhere from any host. The exam fee goes directly to IICRC, and that covers the cost of processing the exams.
Now, as you can see, folks, if you're still watching on the video, again, we have the early bird on there, so you can sign up. You get a discount. Now, on this one, you get $100 off if you sign up now. So this is the 4-day course, as Rachel said. Now, the other thing that I was asked about this is there, I mean, if I get the AMRT and the WRT, does that make me at the top of everybody and nobody can compete with me?
It's definitely going to give you a competitive advantage. There are a few other courses available for mold, for example. I don't know of any courses that really teach mitigation the way IICRC teaches it. I mean, they are the industry setting standards. They're a standard writing body for what we do. For the state of Florida, and there's about 4 or 5 other states that require licensing in order to even touch mold, right? So you can't remediate mold, you can't assess it unless you have the proper licensing. So this class will, AMRT will qualify for the requirements for the state of Florida, for the state of Louisiana, for the state of New York, as far as the training requirements that you have to have. But this, they also offer another exam that you can take up and above and beyond the AMRT, which I don't know if you want to talk about that today or not, but the MRS is a separate exam that is approved for state licensing for the state of Florida.
So there is something above this, but we're not going to get into that this year. Maybe we'll do that next year.
Deal.
Okay. So the other question I had concerning all of this was, again, the people that are saying, I've got so many technicians, I can't really afford everybody to be there. And that's on a whole lot of money. Is there something a little bit below this that can give me a mold? Say that, we've got something that qualifies us for mold. I'm a little afraid of that.
Yes, me too, to be honest with you. I'd agree with that. There's not really anything that I would say is less than that. You can always find course providers out there that are offering, a mold awareness class. But I don't know of any other courses outside of maybe, I don't know, there's ACAC and you've got Normie. They all offer different kinds of classes. but they don't really get into the remediation side of it like IICRC does. A lot of those courses are really geared more towards IH work, like consultants and things like that. They don't really take into account what is the remediation contractor, the person in the front lines building the containment, what do they need to know?
So just a very quick thing here. I think some people are confused about, cleaning mold off of a surface or remediation. Can you explain a little bit of the difference so that they can kind of go, well, I need to have this?
Right. So I think a lot of us have been brainwashed into thinking that the proper approach for mold is we need to go in and we need to treat the mold, which means we need to apply chemicals to kill it, or we need to put something over it to cover it up. So they don't really understand what the true principle behind mold remediation is, which is source removal. Right. But it's more than just going in and just taking a rag and wiping it off a surface. You need to understand what materials can effectively be cleaned and which ones would we recommend for disposal because we cannot effectively clean them. And it's also about how do you manage your airflow while you're doing all these cleaning activities or removal activities without causing cross-contamination to the rest of the building. That's really the biggest and most important component. Because if you cross-contaminate a building or an air handling system, then could you potentially make other people sick, and could you actually take on liability for doing that? And the answer is a big yes.
And so we are going to be talking about positive and negative airflow in a building, correct?
Correct. We're going to talk about working under negative pressure. How do you create it? How do you measure it? And what's appropriate? How much is too much? Where do we need to be? What's the magic number that we want to be at? And we're going to build containment, and we're going to test our pressure differentials that we create in the classroom setting.
I had somebody the other day that was asking me about a negative air scrubber, and I said, "Are you doing water restoration, or are you doing mold restoration?" Would that be an appropriate question?
Yeah. So we talk about air filtration devices. A lot of times they get referred to as AFDs or negative air machines or scrubbers, and it's really the same piece of equipment because it's all depending upon how you're using it. Right. So how you set it up, if you're trying to create negative air with that piece of equipment, then you're using it as a negative air machine. If I'm just putting it on a water damage because of all the airflow that we're creating during the drying process, correct, we just want to make sure we capture any particles that we may have aerosolized. Now we're using it more like a scrubber, where it's just turning over or, quote, scrubbing the air as it filters it.
So, somebody that says, hey, I've got some wet carpet, it flooded, we're doing water restoration, and they put the fans on it and everything, they could be causing a problem in the indoor environment, could they not?
Oh, absolutely. And you got to remember that, everybody lives in their homes, and some people are better housekeepers than others. For those people that do hoarding jobs, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So just the amount of airflow that we create when we set up our equipment for a drying project, we are creating a lot of airflow. And you're going to have a bio load in these buildings, in these homes, because people live there. Skin cells, pet dander, soil, allergens. And so air filtration devices are often used, and they're even recommended in our standard to be used to capture the particulates that we are aerosolizing just by normally doing drying.
So, folks, what we've been talking about is the WRT. We're going to first be doing that on June the 2nd through the 4th. And then again, September 1st through 3rd. The AMRT, June 23rd through 26th, and then back September 22nd through 25th. You travel more than just in the United States. You were in Jamaica here a couple of weeks ago. You're going back again.
Right. So we're doing projects over there. It's all hurricane-related issues for a lot of resorts. Right now I'm overseeing 5 separate resorts, which are massive. And so I actually still go in the field. I'm an industrial hygienist. I go in the field. I do a lot of consulting. I've been doing this for about 30 years. So I'm still in the field actively working with contractors, writing protocols, doing, sampling, writing reports, serving as an expert witness. So I still do a lot of field work, just like a lot of the contractors that are going to come to take these classes.
So folks, here at Gym Supply in Orlando, there's 2 different dates in June, 2 different dates in September. Hey, of course, we're going to tell you come to both of those classes, the WRT and the AMRT. But if I had to choose between the 2, I'm thinking the AMRT is going to do the most for me, but I have to have the WRT. But now I'm confused. What do I do?
Well, you're going to have to prioritize what's the service that you want to offer. And if you want to be at the top of your game and you want to be able to minimize, you'll never eliminate liability. If you want to minimize it to ensure that you're doing these jobs correctly, you really need both. And that's just the bottom line. Because if you're going to do drying, you have to start there. And drying is a byproduct of what we're also doing when we're doing mold remediation.
Folks, you heard it from Rachel. She travels the world. She does this. She's been doing it for a long time. This is going to be some hands-on stuff. Here at Gym Supply, we've got a big classroom. We've got a bunch of open area. All we're going to say is bring your work clothes. This is not a place for you to bring your, ladies, this is not high heels and skirts time.
No, it's not. It's not flip-flop time. This is, I know you're in Florida, but I don't care if you wear shorts, but we're wearing work boots and we're going to get dirty and we're going to build. And students that leave our class really enjoy it. That's the part that they enjoy the most is the actual construction part of it.
So folks, if you're coming from out of state to Florida, we'll give you on the ticketing that you just saw. There is a place there you can click on to find a local hotel close to us. We're downtown Orlando, real close. Yes, we will provide you lunch. Hopefully during those times, there ain't going to be any bad weather in September or in June. So come on down and see us in sunny Florida. Be glad to have you. Rachel, we'll be glad to host you here for several days in both months.
I'm happy to come, and it's an honor. So I look forward to meeting everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Hey, stay safe out there, folks. Want to see you here.